Hi, I'm Amy Kelly and this is my garden. Today we are doing a really fun, simple project. It's great to do with kids and it is all about wildlife. We are going to create a pond in a pot, or a mini pond. You may need to buy a few things from your local garden centre or pond supply shop, depending on how ambitious you want to be, but you can do a pond in a pot most of the time with things you've already got handy. So first of all, you are going to need a watertight container. Because it's going in the garden, I wouldn't recommend using glass or ceramic, just in case of breakages. You don't want those sharp edges lying around. So I have got a super cheap little plastic pot that I got from a local shop that shall remain unnamed but sells things for £1. As you can see, this has got quite steep sides, so you could dig a hole and bury this in the garden so that it's level with the soil. Absolutely perfectly fine. Or if you're going to have this just sitting, you need to add a little step, and that can be a brick, a few bits of wood, a ramp made out of logs, anything that you feel like. But basically, what I want you to imagine is if something accidentally falls into this, like a hedgehog or a bird that's gotten so wet it then can't fly, it needs to be able to get out and in safely. So we need to have a ramp or a step on the outside, and we need to have the same on the inside. So I've got everything that I need here already. I have got my lovely waterproof pot. I have got some aquatic plants. Now this is a water iris. It's actually an Australian one, which I really love, called Mini Mart. It's a dwarf water iris. It only gets 30 to 50 centimeters, 1 to 2 foot tall. So it's perfect for a smaller container. Even so, this is a small pot, so I'm only going to put one in there. I've also got, now this is a UK native plant. It's called water veronica, and it gets these tiny, dainty little blue flowers. I just love them. What this plant does is it will raft out across the water, and it will send roots down that help to take nutrients out of the water to keep it nice and clear. And this rafted area of greenery is the perfect habitat for damselflies to lay their eggs. So I'm going to pop one of those in there as well. I've also got some oxygenator plants. If you can use native plants, all the better, but especially with it being in a pot, you know it's never going to accidentally get into a native waterway, so if you can only get introduced ones, that's absolutely fine. But these are oxygenators, so they live under the surface of the water and they take nutrients out of the water to help keep the water nice and clean and healthy. Now I've got two varieties here. I've got this lovely little feathery one, that's water milfoil. And then I've got this slightly chunkier one. Now both of these, as I say, live under the surface. If you have got lawn chamomile or Ajuga reptans growing in your garden already, or any kind of mint, these are not technically aquatic plants, but I find they do really well in the pond. So I had some lawn chamomile growing beside my pond, and that lawn chamomile trailed out into the water just like the water veronica and created a raft and sent roots down into the water. So technically it's a marginal plant. That means you want to grow it at the edge of the water, not actually in the water, but mine's grown into the water and it seems perfectly happy. And Ajuga is another one that will do the same thing. There is a specific water mint, Mentha aquatica. You'll find it in most pond supply centres. And water mint really is lovely. It gets little baubles of flowers, fantastic. But absolutely any mint will grow in the water. So if you can't get water mint, any mint will do. This here is chocolate mint. So first things first, we need to make our pond safe for wildlife. So that means if a hedgehog falls into the water, it has to have a safe way to climb out again. So I've got some stones here, and I am just going to play around with them until I get a configuration that I like. This rock here, sticking right up out at the top, this is my bee landing place. Bees need to drink water. Honeybees cannot eat honey. They have to dilute it with water first. Bees all get thirsty and all need a drink, especially on hot summer days. And honeybees even need to come out and get drinks in the winter. So always have a fresh water source available outside if you possibly can. So I've got a couple of little planting pockets that I've made here. If you just dump a load of soil in there, you are going to have a mess. So I have a sad lost little sock, the exact colour of that planter. So I'm going to use this to make 2 little planting pouches. So the first one's easy because it already has a toe. So I am just going to snip that like so. And we now have a little colour coordinated planting pocket. So I'm going to take my little sock pouch. I'm going to put it on my hand like I am doing a sock puppet show. Hello, crazy lady. Don't worry, I haven't lost the plot. This is to make it easy for me to repot my little plant into this sock. So we are going to take our plant. I'm going to tip it out into my hand. Got some nice root growth there. And then we are going to eat it with our sock puppet and fold the sides up. And we now have a perfectly pocketed little plant ready to go into the water. Now over time this yellow sock is going to discolour, but that's okay. Over time this plant might outgrow this pot and need to go to a bigger one anyway. So we've got our little water Veronica there, and I am going to pop this right there. Now I have got a tube, so you could either staple one end of that or stitch it. So I'm just going to take a moment and stitch that end so I have another little planting pocket. And voila, we have another nice little planting pocket. Right, next I'm going to plant my dwarf iris. Now this is bare rooted, so I have got some aquatic compost. Now this is compost that's lower in nutrients than normal compost. So I've got my iris there all ready to be potted. I've got my sock. This is the aquatic compost, and I'm just going to fill my sock with some of that compost. Pop in the iris. Try to leave all of the roots pointing down. Putting my iris in my sock and filling it up with that aquatic compost. There we go. So I've got my 2 lovely plants in there, and I'm just putting my little hedgehog escape route back in as well. Now the last thing I'm going to do is just add some smaller stones or gravel on top of my plants. That will help to keep the soil in. I've already got it in my little socks, but this will just help to keep the plants weighted down, keep the soil in, and make it all look pretty. Now the only thing left to do is add the water. Do this slowly and gently. What you want to do is pour it gently over one of the larger stones. That will help gradually introduce the water to your plants and will help to keep the water nice and clear once it gets to the surface here. And there we have it, a simple small pond in a pot.